So I thought I would round off the stuff on Tommy Robinson this evening with a reference to a person who's been leaving comments on my site. I'm going to name him because it's if I can find the ridiculous comments because they are so utterly abusive. Not particularly against me. I mean, I'm not terribly worried, but I don't like people being abusive to people who I know and like. And Jim Lawrence, who is really quite using quite demeaning language and inappropriately. Uh, and yeah, uh, the what as far as I know, what's happened is Tommy Robinson was arrested on his way to Europe. Whether that's for a family holiday or not is completely irrelevant. He was due in court today, and if the judge, in his wisdom, has decided that the warrant for his arrest can be delayed until October, and that the court case can be delayed until then, that's another matter. According to Maya Tusi, Tommy Robinson is saying that the judge should have recused himself because he'd had a quarrel with Tommy's father, and so was personally involved in the ins and outs of Tommy's life, which is simply inappropriate. It's not the first time that I've heard recently of judges who are reluctant to recuse themselves, and judges who suddenly appear and take over a case halfway through. We are in a very funny time legally, and I think it's not only our schools and our NHS which is struggling; it's our legal system as well. And Tommy was held under the Terrorism Act of 2000, which meant, according to Tommy, that he had no right to silence, and that the police demanded to see his phone, demanded access to his phone, which had all his legal information in it, privileged information, that even under the Terrorism Act, the police are not entitled to see. Now, one report says that he was arrested because he refused to stop and search or something. It just seems very strange, and he assumed that he was being arrested because of the protest on Saturday and the screening of his film about Silenced, but they seemed much more interested in his opinions on Israel and Palestine. There just comes a point where you have to say, the police are getting so much wrong, the legal system is getting so much wrong, the government is getting so much wrong, by suddenly trying to slam one individual, that doesn't restore any sense of trust at all, particularly when that one individual has been so dragged through the system. He doesn't represent any great threat. You may not agree with what Tommy Robinson says. You may agree with what Tommy Robinson says. In a way, that's immaterial. It's not really very important. What is important is the power and the time wasting of the police, of the judiciary, of the government to prove a point that it can act. And yet, there's so much which is being ignored. I am not reassured in any way by all this flag waving around what the police and the legal system is doing to Tommy Robinson, even if I thought that Tommy Robinson was a threat. I think this is a paper tiger, and I think this is demeaning. And I think it exposes a nastiness, a spitefulness in our system, which we might already have seen in the treatment of Julian Assange. Do you see where I'm going with this? And there are people like Chowdhury and others who have been hanging around for years and spreading their vile propaganda. And yet all the focus has been on people who, yes, on these charismatic individuals who may have stepped over the line, you know, and I may not agree with them. But there's a little bit of me which feels there but for the grace of God. And what is happening to the Tommy Robinsons and the Julian Assanges could easily happen to me or to you, couldn't it? It's about power. It's not about what these people have done or what these people are saying. It's about the power of the system. And when the system is vengeful rather than just, I think we need to be worried. So when you look at Julian Assange, why was he held in solitary confinement for so long? What had he done? He'd defied his bail restrictions, but everybody knew where he was. And, you know, it's really worrying. If you want to find out more about the Julian Assange story, I've done a longer video, which is on my other channel, which is Professor Tim's Thoughts, but apparently that's not a good title, and I'm being encouraged to change it to something which may be more alliterative, and might have an apostrophe or something, or might not need punctuation. But there's a link at the end of this video to the Julian Assange film. Do have a look at it, and also tell me what subjects you would like me to cover in these longer formats. I shall still be doing the political videos on this channel, but the other channel will be reserved for more interesting stuff and for academic stuff and for lessons and stuff about people's set books and stuff for A levels, for GCSEs, for university, and for entrance exams and 11 plus and so on. I will cover the lot if and when I can, but I need to know what people want me to cover. But in the meantime, let me say it very clearly. I'm not in the tribe that supports particularly Tommy Robinson's ideas, but I am in the tribe that is seriously concerned about the abuse of our legal systems, of our political systems, and to me, Tommy Robinson is up there with whistleblowers and with people who have been unfairly treated, Malkinson and so on. Our system is neither consistent nor coherent, nor, I think, at the moment, is it credible. And that is very worrying. And we have slid from a position of excellence in a matter of just a few years. I don't know whether it's linked to Brexit. Personally, that is my suspicion. I certainly don't think it's linked to the Conservatives as such, but I think under the Conservative leadership, this is the descent that occurred. And we have a situation where an elite gets away with everything. And those people who are not in that group but make enough noise are dragged from pillar to post. And once they are in the legal system does not let go. And those people who want to get into the legal system, the whistleblowers and the people who are concerned that they have been badly done by, the system blocks them out and blocks them out and blocks them out. And the same thing is true if you write to your MP. You get a letter that has been cobbled together, 3 different paragraphs written by 3 completely different people. You can tell it. You do a bit of form criticism on it. You can tell it. The language is different. And it's all evasive. And you beg for a meeting in the MP's surgery. It never happens. You just get another letter that is sort of piddling waffle. Verbiage. And this is the person who represents us. My MP couldn't represent a gnat. Which I don't know who my MP is now. But anyway, my MP has been replaced by somebody from the Labour Party. I may be misjudging that person. But certainly the previous one, it was just letter after letter. And these letters had all been written by different people. And in the end, it's just not worth dealing with it. But I speak to other people who have written to their MPs, and I hear the same stories. Indeed, I've seen the same paragraphs.